Hello, I am Luann Kincaid, Public Information Officer for Caldwell County, and welcome to another edition of Industry Profiles. Now, as you know, Industry Profiles is typically a TV show where we highlight industry around Caldwell County, and it's hosted by the Caldwell County Economic Development Commission. Well, today we're actually going to profile or highlight the Caldwell County Economic Development Commission. So, first of all, I want to introduce our guest, of course, which is Deborah Murray, who is Executive Director of the Caldwell County EDC.
Luann, thanks for coming to our house today. Most people haven't been in the EDC, and a lot of people don't understand exactly what we do, but we wanted to take this time to talk about what we do and what the results have been, and invite folks in to get an up close and personal kind of tour around our offices, and then know a little bit more about what we do, what our philosophy is, what our protocol is, and then maybe provide an opportunity for some questions and answers a little bit later on, including inviting the public to contact us and ask us what they'd like to know.
Okay.
And do. The EDC, as you remember, a few years ago was a 501c3 and had a board of directors when the railroad was a part of it. And when the railroad separated, the 501c3 went with the railroad to the Railroad Commission. And we stayed here and became part of county government. And we are now a Caldwell County government department, and it's our responsibility to increase industry and increase investment in Caldwell County. We have a 4-person staff. I'm the executive director, and Bobby White, who many people know as the former county manager, is our grants coordinator. Paul Teague is our business development and communications person. And then Dawn Weiss is our executive assistant, and she is sometimes referred to, reminds me that she is also our executive director of First Impressions. And so speaking of first impressions, the public's first contact with our office is usually through her. And she's always ready and willing to meet and greet all of our guests in person or on the telephone. And if you call here on the phone, she will answer your call the same way as all of the rest of us will.
It's a great day to do business in Caldwell County. This is Dawn. May I help you?
When you call, you'll hear the very same, very important message first and foremost, regardless of who answers the phone. It's a great day to do business in Caldwell County. Every call is answered that way for a reason. The reason is it is a great day for business in Caldwell County, and we don't say that because we hope that one day it's true, or that we hope that it could be true on any given day. We do say it because it is true. We have been blessed with so much progress in the last year to 2 years. We've made progress that is transitioning us to a much more diversified and sustainable and vibrant local economy. And we're growing, we're getting stronger. And to prove that point, there are a couple of things that we would want to point out. During the last year, nearly 1,400,000 square feet of vacant industrial space has been put back into use. Those are buildings that were silent and quiet on the corners and the roads that they sat on, and now they're starting to be renovated and be put back to use. And there'll be jobs there very soon if they're not there already. Another exciting thing that we have to talk about is job creation. Last year, we had a record 15 companies announce that they were coming to Caldwell County, or that some of those who were already here were growing and expanding. Of the 15, it's pretty much a split, half and half. Half were existing, and they were growing and expanding, and the other half were brand new to Caldwell County, and we were very proud of them. And their range was huge. We had an Italian company that moved its very first operations to the United States and chose Granite Falls. an Austrian company that was already here, growing and expanding, decided to have its first manufacturing facility in Caldwell County, and previously had had its North American manufacturing headquarters in up in the Northeast, and so now they've moved it to Hudson. So we're excited about those kinds of moves. We're excited about the deals that have been done. Some of them have as few as 8 employees and some as many as 170 employees, and a lot in between. So we believe in big business, we believe in little business, and we seem to be getting our fair share of all of those things, and it all adds up to be good growth and prosperity, we hope, for Caldwell County. So how do we accomplish all of this? And we'll talk about it in detail in a little bit, but I have to say that we enjoy a great amount of support from our community, and in every effort that we make to recruit or help a business expand, we do it knowing that we have the full support of our county commission, of our municipal leaders, of the business and industry that is here, as well as the workforce development partners and the education partners in the community. And I probably have left someone out in that group of people, but we do everything as a team. So the EDC doesn't do anything all on its own, but we do coordinate and facilitate it so that we can get that large group of people together to represent what Caldwell County is.
You said 1 million, is that what you said? It was, how much was it? 1 million?
1,300,000 and, or almost 1,400,000.
1,400,000.
In vacant building space.
In vacant building space. So let's talk about some of those vacant buildings, because a lot of these are buildings that folks would be very familiar with. So let's go over some of those so folks can understand which ones we're actually talking about.
Well, the largest building that we were able to help put back to use was the old NACO building, which we try not to call any of these buildings their former names, because the current tenants really are offended by that.
Because it's their building now.
It's their building now, that's right. So the former NACO building is now the Carolina Prime Pet building, and that was 278,000 square feet. So that was the largest of the buildings that had been vacant, and that one had been vacant for many years while it's waiting. And so that was an exciting one. Several of the Broyhill plants were some of those buildings that were put back to use. Plant 50 and 55 and 3, all over in the Whitnall area, have become a couple of different businesses. 50 became the Randall Miller Trucking Company, and we'll be doing a ribbon cutting with him very soon, in a few weeks on that one. And then 55-3 is Baker's Waste. So that interchange that's over there will finally get put to some good use. That will be good for them. They'll have a lot of trucks coming and going out of that one. A couple of the other large ones, and probably the next largest on the list, would be the former Blue Ridge Panel building, which was is on the old Broyhill Industrial Complex site down at the corner of the Loop in 18. And it is now the home of Wood Grain Millwork, and they have begun their renovations and have just begun hiring. So we're very excited about that investment, because it is going to be probably another good 6 to 8 months before they're ready to go into full hire mode. But they will be adding a great deal to that part of the county in terms of volume of people and business. Okay. So let's talk about the jobs at these. Now these are we just talked about some of the businesses that have taken over some of these vacant businesses. And you talked about this briefly in your introduction. Well, let's go over some jobs. How many new jobs have come into place? And you said this is 2012 and 2013 together, right? Is that combined? No, actually we try to keep them separate, because
so 2012?
we tend to, I like hard answers and good, strong detail, facts for measurements. I think that it's important for us to be able to measure, are we doing as well as we did before? Have things gotten better? Have things slowed down? And one of the ways we do that is the EDC keeps a scorecard. And every month at our EDC board meetings, we produce a scorecard that says, to date, and we do it on a calendar year, from January until now, how many jobs have we been able to, how many announcements have there been? And of those announcements, how many jobs and how many new annual wages does that represent? And what's the total dollar amount of investment that represents for Caldwell County? And because all of those are the return on the investment when we go out and recruit these folks. Those are the ways that it comes back into the county's pipeline as return on that investment and its income for the county and the municipalities. So last year we did 15 projects, 682 new jobs, and those jobs on based on their annual wages represented $18.6 million in new annual wages. So that means that those are wages that have come into the county that didn't exist before, even if they are additions or expansions of companies who added 10 or 50 jobs to what they already had, all brand new. And the private investment was $37.5 million. And I should note that that would represent approximately $250,000, somewhere in the neighborhood of $225,000 to $250,000 of new tax income for the county on an every year basis. And so now in 2013, we're just barely over halfway through our year.
As we tape this.
And so at the end of July, we will have already had for the year 12 projects. And
compared to the 15 total over the whole year last year.
That's right. And then 450 jobs and $15.33 million in new annual wages. And then $651 million in new private investment. Now, it needs to be said here, the $600 million is Google's expansion. And those are once in a lifetime types of expansions. And so I will have a hard time achieving that number next year. So I'm pulling the $600 million out when I speak with folks about the real progress that we've made. Yes, that's real progress and it's there, but to compare ourselves to last year we didn't have a Google, not an expansion anyway. And so when we compare this year to last year, we're already still ahead of it because we're already at $51 million and some change for new private investment. So that's an almost 40% increase above last year and still with room to go. That's right. So, you know, our job, as I said before at the EDC, is to increase private investment in Caldwell County. And that occurs when new companies come buy property, build buildings, or existing companies buy properties and build buildings or add on, because that adds to the tax base. And then that's good revenue for the county. In addition to that, the jobs and the opportunities that then result from that are there, and those are why we always refer to the new annual wages. That is so important for us to know and to understand, because annual wages we keep track of. Are we making progress? Are they going up or down? And we're going up. We had a 5% increase in annual wages across the board last year. So we keep track of that and we keep hoping that the recruitment that we do will be for jobs that pay better and better and better, because we want better opportunity for Caldwell County residents.
Okay. And that's the whole purpose. Now it's 682 jobs in 2012. So let's talk about, and then you've got the jobs that in the first half of 2013. What kind of jobs are we talking about? Describe these jobs. I mean, we've talked some about the companies, but what kind of jobs are these?
We have a wide variety, for which I'm thankful. We have truck driving jobs, logistics jobs, which go along with those truck driving jobs. We've got welding and metalworking, and we have executive jobs. We've got laboratory technicians. We have chemical engineer positions. We have, and as I'm saying this, when I say the names of these jobs, I'm also thinking about approximate wages. And we have the full gambit. We have as many six-figure new jobs you know, as are a good balance for the jobs that we have that are good starting entry-level wages that, you know, that will feed a family. And we try to focus very much on emphasizing to companies when they do come in and when they do expand that wages are important to us, but so are benefits. And we know that's a sensitive issue in the world these days. And it's one of those quality of life factors that we try to emphasize so that folks will understand it is a priority that we try to push out there so that folks will know that those are good gains for us as a county to be able to offer individual people.
And one thing I'd like for you to address that I think a lot of people do question this, and I think Carolina Prime Pet was the prime example of this. Okay, you've announced the business is coming, they're going into whichever building or they're building wherever they're going to build, and then things seems like it's not happening, and then they're not hiring, and then yes they are going to, but then they're not. What's happening during that process? Because I know a lot of people, they're like, okay, where's these jobs? And we hear about they're going to be hiring these, but then that's the last they hear for a while, and so they wonder what's happening. So explain, because there's a lot of different things that's going on during that process.
Well, two things. Number one, companies always say that they're going to make things happen on their timetable, their ideal timetable, and things happen, and their timetable isn't met. So we always hope that things will happen faster than they really do.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that when we make an announcement, we have just finished the negotiations so that a company can say they will commit to coming.
Right.
Much has to happen after that. They have to buy a building, and they have to close on the building, and they have to move into the building, and you can't move into the building until it's been renovated. And many of these buildings that we've talked about sat vacant for a while, so there's a good deal of work that has to go into bringing them up to code, and then going forward to make them you know, tailored to the business that's going to be there, not the business that used to be there. So a lot has to take place, and it takes generally 6 months to a year, depending on whether you're doing new construction or a major renovation. So when we make an announcement today, those jobs aren't going to be hired tomorrow. And I wish I had $1 for every time somebody had asked me how come there aren't more cars over there in the Carolina Prime Pet parking lot. And to address that, they have a lot of folks who park in the back, first of all. And second of all, they have begun their serious hiring now, have just begun it as a matter of fact, and they are phasing down their Murphy, North Carolina site so that they can bring those jobs here in addition to the ones that they have already hired. So it is happening. I can't say they're always on. They're not always on time, but it is happening, and their investment is ours, and it's going very well.
But as I said, that is like you said. The announcement's made, and people think that means, hey, it's right here, it's right now, let's go get a job. But it typically does take a little while to get it established. And
to your point, there's something else that happens. You know, a lot of people talk about, we've heard a lot of talk in the county offices and the municipal offices and on the front page of the paper and on television about taxes recently. And folks with the reval that took place and wanting to understand why is the revenue what it is, especially if we had all of these great and wonderful announcements last year. And keep this in mind, if we had an announcement last year, the investment would have been made over a period of time. And in the same way that the jobs wouldn't be there immediately, those folks don't pay their taxes until the following year, based on the investment that they've made, the equipment and the whatever they purchase. So it's the next year or two before the county and the municipalities start to see the revenue show up on their books. So that ought to be exciting in the next year to see what happens with with the addition of those companies, and we seem to be getting more. And the only thing concerning about all of that is we've put so many of the vacant buildings back to use. We're starting to run low on inventory, and we don't have as many to choose from.
Well, that's a good thing in one way.
It is a good thing in one way.
That's a good thing in one way. Now, we're talking about 2013. Now, I'm going to ask you about 2013 now. And as Deborah said earlier, as we tape this, it is the end of July. And so far, 450 jobs.
When we're finished with July, that ought to be where we are.
And we're not quite at the end of July as we tape this. So, and I know I know this is something else. A lot of this stuff has to be kept really, really, really top secret until it's actually finalized. But before we get into the process of exactly how you guys work with companies and how your office works, can you give us any hints about the rest of this year? What might be coming?
Well, I can tell you that there are 3 buildings that I know of right now that have just closed this week, or they're closing next week. So we'll add those to the list of vacant buildings put back into operation. That's the first thing. We've got a number of projects that have been, for us this year, we've had a number of big projects.
Right.
They take even longer sometimes to do. So we've got some, what we hope will be nice surprises. At least one by the time the year is up that will be unique and different. I made a speech to a group the other day, and one of the questions was, what's the neatest, best thing that has come to Caldwell County since you became the EDC director?
Okay.
And my comment was, it hadn't happened just quite yet. The one that I'm most excited about and that's most different and is one that we hope will in the next several months materialize. Really? Yes.
It's unusual.
So it is unusual, and I may end up, having jinxed it by talking about it, but it is exciting because we've had, again, we've tried very hard to diversify our economy. We all know what it was like when everything was focused around textiles and furniture, which wasn't necessarily bad. It was only bad when textiles and furniture had a tougher time surviving and needed to make decisions that weren't good for Caldwell County. And so now we have a varied economy, and with lots of different types of opportunity and lots of different requirements for skills as well, so that we don't maybe get back into that place again where all of our eggs are in one basket. Diversifying the economy has been a very top priority for us at the EDC.
And it's working so far.
We think so.
And another one building that I want to talk about that I think is probably one of the most visible buildings, and I'm sure you probably know which one I'm going to talk about, Broyhill Corporate Office, which is now
Excella Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. Now that was a real win, right?
That was a real win.
To actually get that building occupied again.
Yes,
I think that
was.
really gave a lot of people hope.
It did give a lot of people hope, and it was kind of a kick to the stomach when it was empty at first, because it was a terrible thing to drive by
and see
that building and see it dark. And see there to be no name on the marquee. And it's great to see not only a name on the marquee, but a name of a business that's a 21st century business that has a completely different kind of operation than most of what we know about, that represents one of those target industries for the state as well as our county, which is pharmaceutical and biotech development. And we are starting to build this nucleus of that industry, which is great because those are well-paying jobs, and they offer a very, very strong and exciting future for the folks who want to go into those types of jobs. And it's nice to see the folks who travel on 321 see something different that reflects differently on Caldwell County than maybe what they thought was there.
That's true. That is true. So let's talk now about the businesses themselves. Now, how does all this happen? How does, we talked about these great businesses, these great deals of these folks finally, coming to Caldwell County and wanting to set up shop here and focus here with their investments and their jobs. You guys are, as you just said in your beginning intro to the show, you talked about how you guys kind of coordinate everything between all the various groups. So let's talk about that. We saw Dawn taking a phone call at the very beginning of the show. How does your contacts typically come, like from these industry? How does it typically happen? They don't just walk in the door.
They do not just